Okay. Oh, now I haven't got my sound in. Wait a minute. Where's my sound bar? Bear with me. I'm just putting my microphone in. There we are. Okay, that should be better sound now. Now, I apologise for two things. First, the signal is very short this morning, or very slow, whatever you call it. So there's a little bit of a delay with the live broadcast. It's not like BBC, I'm afraid. We don't have that kind of bandwidth. But hopefully you can hear me. And also I've changed it slightly, so you might want to just sort of get used to the different setup. I've just changed the room around a bit, just for a change this Sunday morning. Okay, so we'll start with the invocation to Patanjali, as usual. So again, those of you that are joining for the first time, if you are joining for the first time, thank you for coming to this live guided home practice. I like to say this at the beginning of each session. This is not a beginner's practice. This is not a live taught class, but it is a chance for us to practice together each week, whatever poses I've set for the Sunday session. Okay, so hopefully you're all clear about that. Any questions, just let me know afterwards. All right, so we'll start. Just looking up, because I've got my camera, as it's Balances Week, I've got my camera precariously balanced on top of my telly. So I'm just making sure it's not going to fall on top. Okay, so we'll start. So we chant the invocation, or I chant the invocation to Patanjali as a sort of reverence to the roots of yoga and the traditional yoga path that we're on. So just sit quiet if you don't know the invocation. And then bring the palms together in front of the chest, close the eyes, and draw your senses inwards. Connect to the breath and feel how the breath can move the body and lift the trunk away from the pelvis, creating both stability and ease, contain and openness. Yogena citasya padena vacham malam sharirasya javaidyakena yopa karotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram Shankachakra Siddharinam Sahasra Shirasam Svetam Pranamami Patanjalim Hari Om. Intending the lift in the chest, allow the head to draw to the heart. And release the hands, raise the head, open the eyes. And extend the legs out. Okay, so we're starting with Tadasana. So because it's balanced poses this week, you might want to already set yourself up near a wall, as I've done, in case you need the wall for balance for some of the poses. Okay, so we'll start in Tadasana. I'm going to set the timer today so that we can stay in the poses sort of an equal amount of time. So we'll just start with Tadasana now. And feel the balance between the left and the right foot, the inner and outer edge of the foot, as well as the front and the back of the foot. And also the balance between the fronts and the backs of the legs. the extension of the left and right side of the body, and even the balance between the front and the back of the skull, so as not to push the head forwards. Make sure if you're using a gadget that you're not a slave to it and dropping your head and chest. You keep the eyes directly forwards, if anything slightly above eye level, but feel that the eyes actually go towards the back of the head, so there's a quietness there. And feel the length between the tailbone and the crown of the head. So Urdhva Hastasana and Namaskarasana. So either palms facing each other when you bring the arms up, or palms together, but keep the elbows straight. You can't see my hands, but you can see the tops of my arms. So if I was to bend my elbows, it would look like that. So avoid that, because you need that extension of the arms to extend the sides of the body. And if you have tightness in your neck, just keep the arms as wide as you need to alleviate that. Or any problems in the shoulders, you can bring the arms out parallel to the floor and still get that extension, or use a belt. Keep your mouth soft, don't grip, even if you're bringing your palms together, try not to grip your teeth and your jaws. And then we'll bring the arms down. Okay, so we're going to go to Vrikshasana, tree pose. So you can either use the wall behind you, like we did before, or one hand on the wall, or freestanding. Okay, so it's the the right leg up first. Just under a minute on this. I'll just leave the timer running. So if you need to keep hold of the ankle, you can do that, but try not to do this distortion of the body. So you might need to use a belt around the foot itself, not around the ankle bone, around the foot. And then those that can stretch the arms up. And then release down, and either change your position at the wall or just change sides. You might find you need support on one side and not on the other. It's quite common. I'm standing on rather a thick mat, which is overbalancing me a little bit, but it does mean that I have to concentrate really on pressing the roots of my toes down, the big toe and the little toe especially, and the center of the back of that heel bone. And then on my right leg, I've got to dig the heel bone into the top of the thigh to try and bring the right buttock forwards, that's your left, to try and open that front groin. And all of those actions will help the trunk to lift, but the arms also lift the trunk further, the waist and the back body. And then release. Now, that's Vrikshasana, tree pose, and then Adho Mukha Vrikshasana, to switch that off a moment, is upward facing tree pose. So that's hand balance, but as an alternative, you could do dog pose if you're not going upside down. So I'm going to attempt to go upside down. I'm not sure if it will come today. I'm going to use my bolster at the wall. And you can have 2 attempts at going up, or just do dog pose. And obviously you can stay at the wall, not asking people to balance in the middle of the room, unless you
know that you can do that. So although you can't see my feet, I'm pushing my feet up towards the ceiling as if I was pushing my feet onto the ceiling, like in our Vrikshasana just now, the tree pose just now. So this is upward facing tree, or downward facing tree, I should say. Okay, and then you can have another go and see if you can go up with the other leg first. I'm saying that to myself more than anybody else. I'm not sure if my other leg will go up. Be a little bit further away from the wall. Oh, success. So squeezing the legs together, rolling the front thighs in, pressing the shoulder blades forwards, and elongating between the crown of the head and the tailbone, 2 different directions. And then down. And just stay in Uttanasana for a moment with the feet parallel, toes parallel to each other. And just rest the backs of the hands for a moment towards the floor. And then we'll come up and stand up. Okay, so we've got trikonasana and Ardha Chandrasana. So triangle pose and then the balancing pose, Ardha Chandrasana. So I think probably you can see me if I do it along here. For those that, well, again, we've done this pose in many different ways this week. We did it with a chair, we've done it with a wall, with the back to the wall, and we've done it with a foot to the wall. If you're unsteady, then please have your back to the wall, heels against the wall, and then your right foot will be slightly away from the wall. Do you remember? So that you've got space to put your hand on a brick between your foot and the wall. So when you go into the pose, for example, you can either put your hand on the wall itself or have a brick there, and the heel, it's actually quite nice, is pressing against the wall. The raised leg heel is against the wall. Standing leg should be vertical, and then you're trying to turn your body so that the body rests against the wall like that. Okay? So make sure in this pose that your standing leg is vertical, and just a word of warning, especially those of you with dodgy hips, don't stand too far from the wall. Literally have your standing leg foot a brick width only. That is a hip buttock width, because if you're too far away and your leg is slanting inwards, you're pushing the weight through that hip. It's not a good stance to have. Okay, otherwise we're going to do it free. I'll do mine freestanding for my sins. All right, so first of all though, we'll do trikonasana for a minute, okay, and then after the timer, we'll go straight into Ardha Chandrasana on that side. There you go, there's a bit of a challenge there. And I'm going to my left, which will hopefully be your right if the camera hasn't reversed me. So you're balancing on your 2 feet now. So feel the distribution of weight between the little toe of the left foot and the big toe of the right foot. So there's that diagonal extension and unstanding between the 2 legs. And try and get as much rotation in the chest and abdomen as you can before you go to the next phase. Avoid having the chest looking at the floor when you go up. So you've got to try and keep the 2 sides of the sternum bone, collarbones, turning. And feel that you're gripping the hips, and especially feel that the outer right hip is lifting away from the floor. So we're going to take the left hand down, bend the right leg, reach forwards. Those of you that need a brick, obviously, hopefully you're aware, pressing that right hand down. You slowly raise the left leg, as you straighten the right. See if you can stay. I'm going to see if I can stay for the minute. May or may not happen. Top arm can come up. I feel myself wavering. So you try and find out where it is. If you're at the wall, of course, you don't really have that problem. But if you're in the middle of the room, what is it that's not connecting in? I can feel my right outer hip has to grip in more. I'm trying to press the outer edge of my right foot down more. And as I do that, I fall out, but that's okay, because it's about really exploring, okay, where is it? What's happening? There's the bell. And when you come back, remember to come back into a really good finish. Don't just sort of fall out and then give up. Come up from trikonasana. Turn the feet, and then we'll do the other side. I'm just going to move over so that I've got room to do this. And go into trikonasana first. Slightly shorter trikonasana on this side, because the time is already going. So again, there's that rotation of the trunk and abdomen, but also the extension between the right little toe and the left big toe. And those 2 points, when you really engage them, without rolling the left knee in, obviously, you want to keep that left inner thigh rolling out. You kind of feel the connection in the hips, in the pelvis. I'm sorry that the lighting is a bit odd as well. Get time to sort all that out properly. Okay, and then again, you can bring that right hand to the hip and make sure your left thumb is in line with your left little toe. I can probably rest my head on the wall here. I'm going into the curtain. I'm going to come back a little bit. Which means I'll probably come off the mat when I come back down, but never mind. So again, that left big toe joint, inner heel pressing down, outer left hip gripping in. And then you've got to kind of firm up the right inner thigh as well to lift up towards the ceiling. Try and open the chest from inside out. Very odd lighting today. I need a lighting technician to show me how to set it up. Okay. Now, again, when the time is gone, bending that left leg, stretch back into, trikonasana, and then come up from there and turn the feet and either step or jump the legs back together. Okay, so that's Ardha Chandrasana. Now, Virabhadrasana 1 and 3, we'll do the same way. We'll do Virabhadrasana 1 first, and then we'll launch into Vira 3. However, if you have trouble with the balance in this one or any trouble with your hips, you can do the following movement. You can come to the wall, let me show on this side, and do the half forward bend with your hands pressed against the wall, and then stretch a leg back like that. Okay, but you have to do the first part for a minute. You don't have to, that's a suggestion. Stay in the first part for a little while and then extend the left leg back first. And we'll be doing, those of us that are doing the full pose, we'll be doing Virabhadrasana 1 and then Virabhadrasana 3. Okay, maybe not a minute in Virabhadrasana 3. So I'm just going to slightly change the timer. So decide where you're going to go. So we're going to do 45 seconds in each pose. And I'm going to go side on. Okay, so when I come forwards, I will be facing you and going forwards towards the screen. It'll be a bit scary, but it's the only room I've got. Okay, are you ready? So let's put the timer on. So first of all, you're in Virabhadrasana 1. Or you've got your hands at the wall and you're doing a half forward bend towards the wall. And if you get tired in the arms, you can hook the thumbs or go on up. In fact, I'm going to turn around because I think I'm going to be too close to the screen. I do like the camera this way around, but it does limit me in certain terms with the depth. Because the room's quite narrow. Yeah, a little bit better. Okay, you might see me disappear off. Okay, so then Vira 3, we're going to come forwards. We're going to turn onto the toes of the back foot. Remember to feel as if you're being pulled forwards as you come up. So we may or may not last 45 seconds, but at least give it a go. Definitely a bit weak on that side today. Okay, I'm going to go to the wall rather than giving up. You only got 10 seconds to go. But that side, because of that sacroiliac problem I've had, this definitely needs a bit of TLC in this pose. Okay, and then come up, and we'll do the other side. I'm going to turn my back to you. No, that way. Yes. So Virabhadrasana 1. So think about the length of this back leg. My right heel doesn't turn particularly well, but I've still got to work on trying to open the back of the knee by pressing the top of the thigh towards the back of the thigh. So here to here, and extending the back of the leg. And then you still have to, even though your hip is further back, you still get that rotation of the left side of your waist, the right side of your waist forwards. And when you come forwards, keep rotating, turn onto the back foot toes. And then as you raise the back leg, straighten the front leg. Extend into the peripheral, so fingertips of the hands extending forwards, heel of the right foot pressing back. Try not to harden the eyes. And then if you come back, again, finish in a good pose. And then come up and jump or step the legs back together. It's definitely challenging, that one, but quite exhilarating. So Prasarita Padottanasana is next, which is a really good way to bring ourselves back down to earth. So let's take this one for just over a minute and use the support for the head if you need it. I'm going to take my blanket just in case. Sometimes the head goes down easily, other days not. And also see that the feet are an equal distance. Each foot is an equal distance from the center of the pelvis. Because you might have a groin that opens more and that foot goes out more. So again, that's about balancing the extension between the left and the right side. And just go straight down today. And focus on, now on Saturday we drew the hands back in a straight line, straight back from the front of the mat. So, and really focused on that middle finger line coming forwards from the middle of the hand. And then look to see that the elbows are level with each other, that you haven't got your elbows too far in, but definitely not rolling out, and that the forearms are vertical and the upper arms are parallel to the floor. In other words, you've got a right angle between the arms between the lower arms and the upper arms. Now that I've said all that, it's time to come up. This feels very short, that pose. And then come out and bring the hands onto the hips, walk the feet in. Okay, so we've now got Shirshasana, head balance, or Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. If you're tired, you can lie with your legs up the wall at this point. Nothing under the hips, just do Urdhva Prasarita Padasana. So I'm going to do my head balance pose. And of course it's a balance because you're away from the wall. But even if you're at the wall, see that the balance is there at the base, where you have the little finger side of the hand, the wrist, and the forearm and the elbow. That there's an attempt to make equal pressure along the whole of that triangular support that you have with the hands in that position. And please don't put your little finger inside the palm. Keep it outside, okay? Because then that means that the wrist will press down better on that side of the hand. It's slightly uncomfortable in the beginning, but you get used to it. Now, so we're going to take 3 minutes, not a very long Shirshasana in Iyengar terms, but long enough so that you can feel the effects of the pose and have a good practice. And if you come down, just rest in Adho Mukha Virasana pose, okay? Or when you come down, I should say. Okay, so just put the timer on. It gives you time to go up and get your balance. And I go up with bent legs at the moment, again, to just protect that sacroiliac. So I still get to do my poses, but in a slightly modified way, whilst I'm addressing a different issue. So the practice is always there, because yoga is a medicine and a preventative medicine, not just an exercise. So even when things go wrong, as you know, we have accidents, we have illnesses, all kinds of things come our way, stresses and strains, mental and physical disturbances. The practice can be adapted to suit all situations. And sometimes when the practice is being done in an automated fashion, the body will maybe react and alert you, so that you say to yourself, okay, so I need to address the way I do those poses or the way I approach that particular pose. So having an injury is often especially for a teacher as well, it's often a very good learning experience, as long as it doesn't go on for too long, of course. But like anything in life that challenges us, whether on or off the mat, it's what we learn along the way and how we are improved and changed by it. So keep the eyes level, so you're not looking at the floor, you're looking straight ahead, unless you have a medical reason for looking elsewhere, but generally the eyes look straight forwards, not down to the floor. And be aware that as you press the arms down, it gives you the access to lifting the shoulders up. But there is some weight on the head, and as you get more experience, there's more weight coming to the head, especially when you take the other hand variations of Shirshasana, where the hands are either pressed palms flat or the arms are forwards. There's one where the arms are forwards. So you really are using very strong neck muscles for those kinds of variations. And this one is the more accessible one for people new to Shirshasana or people wanting to stay a long time. So when you come down, you can either come down with one leg straight, both legs straight. And what you'll notice with me is I just drop out at the moment because I don't want to risk that sacroiliac at the moment while it's still healing. So I come to this position, and this is totally not what you would normally do, but it's just a way to protect that sacroiliac from overstretching at the moment. It's so much better than it was, but I'm just not risking it, especially not on camera. Okay, so now we've got a seated pose next, Gomukhasana, the full pose. And this is a pose where balance is necessary. Now, you can do this on the chair, and I'll show you how. You can also do this lying down. So if you have a knee problem and you can't kneel down, you can actually do this on the chair. Okay, so Gomukhasana, you probably know, is the arm behind the back pose where you catch, so you might need a belt for that. But the leg position is where you take one leg, and this is a kind of hybrid. This is Garudasana legs, but those of you sitting on a chair, you can have a go at combining these two poses, okay? Because the rest of us are going to be kneeling down and sitting on one foot, okay? So you can have a go at that. That's for my mum, because I don't know if she'll be kneeling down on the floor for that one. So if you're doing the full pose, let me show from the back. You can see, just in case you didn't get the memo. So bring one leg behind the other. So that knee goes right up against the back of the left knee is right up against the back of the right knee. Then my feet should point straight back towards you. Don't know if you can see that. Go further forward. Straight back towards you. And then as you sit down, you're supposed to sit. And I'm moving the right calf out the way. You're supposed to sit on that left heel. But you can see I'm slightly tilted like that. So I can sit if I want to. I don't particularly feel I need to, but I can put something like a bolster or a folded blanket there, and it just allows that top knee to sit down a bit more. Because if it's very high like that, can you see I'm sort of being pushed back and the balance won't be very good. So if you get that knee, if you kneel up and put the knee down and find out what the gap is, and then you can sit on there, okay? So I've got my left, I'm going to stay here. I've got my left knee behind my right leg is across the top. And if you move that calf out and try and bring that foot ever closer towards pointing straight back, and some of you I know will be able to do that very easily, and others will be a little bit challenged here. And I'm pressing all the toenails of the left foot down, the big toe to the little toe. So there's the balance, because if I push the toes down, I can feel I've got a little bit more control. And the other thing you can use for this is you can have your bricks here, 2 bricks like that, one each side, and just sit for a moment until you get your balance, and then we'll do the arm position, okay? So I'm going to put the timer on now for Gomukhasana with the arms as well. So if my right leg's over the top, my right arm goes up the back first, and then you stretch the left arm over the top, and that creates a little bit more stability by having that extension. You feel you're pressing the toenails down, gripping the outer hips, lifting the trunk, rolling that right shoulder back, and try and stretch the left arm, left elbow up more. Watch that you're not pushing the ribs forwards too much. Keep the back of the skull pressing against the upper arm. Eyes soft, mouth soft. Don't let the weight sink onto the outer left foot.
So that heel bone should be on the inner buttock of the left buttock, or on the inner buttock bone, next to the anal mouth. Say bump it down, and then stretch the arms down. Okay, and then change. So I'm going to kneel forwards. And bring the other knee behind. Just in a quieter way to get in for some people. And then you've got to push that calf out, and the left calf outwards. Now this side, I definitely need a blanket on this side, because my balance is not as good. So there's a difference there. And then the left arm comes up the back first. And then the right. And I'm focusing on pressing all of those toes down. And it's interesting, I can feel the little toe on the right foot doesn't want to play ball on this side. That's, you know, possibly an indicator of where the imbalance is. Not from the little toe, but the feet will speak to the hips often. And then release. And just do Adho Mukha Svanasana to balance both sides of the body. Downward facing dog. And there's an interesting fact which I spoke about this week, that from the big toe to the root of the tongue, there is a connective tissue, fascia, a line of connective tissue that runs all the way from the big toe mound to the root of your tongue. So think of, you know, that connection and what it means, and how everything in the body, you know, we talk about muscles and bones and ligaments and tendons, but fascia is a huge organ running not only as a protector and a lubricator, but also it runs through the muscle. So, you know, maybe when you wiggle your big toe, you might be able to feel something happening in the root of your tongue. So when you relax the tongue, when we talk about relaxing the jaw, relaxing the throat, then maybe that allows movement, energy to flow better through the connective tissue that runs from the root of the tongue to the big toe. Okay, so now the next pose, something to play with. You don't have to do this one. I've got to throw this one in there because it's a balance pose and it's a wrist balance. And this is Bakasana. And on Saturday, we did this on Saturday, and I showed with the bricks. And also, you can do this with your head on a bolster so that you don't worry about falling forwards. So I'll show you the whole shebang from the side. Don't blink or you'll miss it. Okay, so I'm using the bricks because, again, the forward bending action is a little strong for my back at the moment. So it's the crane. Bakasana is the crane. So you've got to think your hands now are like the crane's feet and your arms are like the crane's legs. Eventually, the legs straight, the arms straighten like the crane and the body's parallel to the floor. But in the beginning, what often happens is the bottom lifts up and the elbows are bent. But, you know, it's all work in progress. So you bring your arms inside the knees like that. So my knees are on the upper arms. And then I have to go onto my tiptoes, press my hands down, and then see if I can find the point of balance and let the toes lift up. And then if you find that you're going to fall, you've got the bolster to fall into. Okay, please be careful with this if you're trying this for the first time. Use you know, some padding, and when you come back down, put your feet as far as you can on the middle of the blocks in case they tip backwards. Okay, so have a couple of more attempts with me. Don't just watch me. Not a lot to see. Okay, let's have another couple of goes on Bakasana. And it's important as we get older to keep practicing these harder poses and these wrist balances.
I'm just feeling what's happening in my body. It's very strong on the upper arms because the bones of the knees press there. But, oh, there we go, falling over, dead crane. But also that helps to stimulate blood flow to the bones. So it's actually quite good. Okay. So that's enough of that one for today. So let's see. Now we've got Shavasana, and the slash Setubandha is actually to as an alternative if you've got your period to do Setubandha, or you can do Shavasana, shoulder balance, and if you want to, you can try dropping back into Setubandha. We did a little bit of that on Saturday and Thursday, walking down the wall in Setubandha. I'm going to show you a version on the chair so that those of you doing chair shoulder balance can see that there is a possibility to also do Setubandha from the chair. And it's really quite nice. So either get your equipment ready for shoulder balance, or if you want to try the chair shoulder stand and you've already done chair shoulder stand, you know what you're doing, then you can follow with me. Just making sure I haven't missed anything out. No. Yes, a slightly shorter session today, only very slightly. And I thought I might have missed something. Okay, so I think I'm going to do 2 blankets today because I feel like I need to extend a bit more. So the higher you have the lift under the hips, obviously the longer the drop. So if you're a tall person, you should really have, either a tall chair or 2 blankets. If you're shorter, you might find just the mat is fine. Which bolster do I use? Let's see. It's going to be that one. And I also like, my chair shoulder stand setup is quite precise. I also like to have a blanket under the head. Actually not for comfort, but because sometimes when the head is a little bit too low, there's a bit of pressure in the ears. So if you get that kind of feeling in your chair shoulder stand, it may be you just need to lift the head slightly or adjust the height under your bolster, so don't give up on these poses. Now I'm just going to move that slightly over so you don't see your feet. I'm going to set the timer already so that I can talk you into it. So if you're already up, great. And if you're not, get into the pose after you've seen this demo. Those of you that are doing chair shoulder stand, watch the demo first because otherwise you won't know what's happening. So you're in your chair shoulder stand, you've got your arms inside, holding on, and then you can stretch the legs up, and I've got my heels just against the wall. So when the timer goes, we'll take the legs into Setubandha. So what you do is you bring your feet onto the top of the chair, and then you point your toes down, and you find your feet with your hand, and you grip the edge of the chair with the inner knee. And then you do the same with the other leg. And it's not as difficult as it looks. It's not as difficult as it looks. It is a big groin opener. I mustn't turn my head, sorry. It is a big groin opener, but it's actually quite nice. It's very nice on the back. It's very nice on the sacrum, which is why I'm doing it. Okay? And then you try and walk your feet further and further down. All right. So let's all of us be in shoulder stand, whatever pose you're doing. Those of you in the middle of the room, if you know how to drop back, when the timer goes, you can drop back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't guess and get into trouble. Just stay in Shavasana. It's only going to be about another 3 minutes. I want to get a little bit further on the edge of the chair so it's not digging too much in. That's better. And those on the chair, if you pull on the chair and move the hands as low down towards the bottom of the chair legs you get a much better opening in the chest. You should not be on your shoulder blades. You should be aiming to get the outer upper arms down, tops of the shoulders down. That goes for all of you, actually. Those of you in the middle of the room, your hands are on your back. You should be lifting the back chest, pushing the hands into the back ribs to lift up. Rolling the outer thighs in, extending the inner groins to the inner heels. So don't be lazy in your legs. If you get tired, don't just come down, but see, okay, what happens if I re-energize my shoulders? What happens if I put a little bit more effort into lifting my back chest? Can I get another few seconds of energized pose rather than just giving up? Sometimes we do get very tired and we just have to come out, but you have to know the difference between giving up and a good surrender, an appropriate surrender, as opposed to a kind of just giving up and collapsing. And try to quieten the breath. Sometimes when the breath is very ragged, even though you are making efforts and the breathing is deeper than usual, you can get a bit attached to that sort of raggedy breath. So if you slow the breath down and take some smooth, deep inhalations, that also helps to give the energy back in the pose. Okay, now I'm feeling that timer might go off any second, or it's actually not working and I can't reach it. So I'm going to take my feet into Setu Bandha. The inner clock tells me that's 3 minutes. There you go. I should trust that clock more. So I'm in my Setu Bandha, and those that are dropping back, you can drop back, jump back up, and then drop back again. And I'm trying to get my knees down more, my feet down more, and I'm gripping the edges of the chair, which helps to grip the muscle around the sacroiliac joint, and that helps to open the front groin more. A moment of pleasure. Okay, and then we're going to lift the legs back up, go all the way back up into, well, if you're on the chair, it's more like Viparita Karani. And then bend the knees, and we'll slide out. And we'll get ready for Shavasana. But if you're on the chair and you're very comfortable and you want to stay like this for Shavasana, then please do. But make sure you can actually rest properly. So you might benefit from just getting up and moving and making your space for Shavasana. I'm actually going to place a pleated blanket under the full length of my spine today, as advised by my teacher, so that when I rest at the end, my back isn't completely flat to the floor. There's a slight lift. And then we'll put the timer on for another 3 minutes. My bolster today is going to go on the tops of my ankles, on the tops of my feet. And then let everything completely release away from the sides of the body. See that you're not clamping your arms into your sides, that you've given yourself enough space to allow those arms to roll away from the sides of the trunk. Let the feet roll slightly out. If you have got hip problems, you should put roll blankets at the side of the hip, side of the thigh, so that the thighs don't over-rotate and cause aggravation. And if you have hamstring issues or lower back, you can put the bolster under the backs of the knees. It depends on where you have discomfort. And if you don't need any support, just lie flat, close the eyes, let go. See that the center of the palm and the soles of the feet is soft. And feel the gradual descent of the body into the floor. Take the awareness to the breath. And feel that when you breathe in, there's a feeling of the breath energy coming from the heel bone all the way up through the backs of the legs and the back of the body towards the chest and the lungs. And the energy of the exhalation feels as if it flows downwards over the front of the body, so that the front body merges with the back body. And of course, if you need to stay longer, Shavasana, do. When you're ready to come out, remember to place the hands on the body first by bending the elbows and rolling to the side, so that you don't jerk yourself out of the pose. The youngsters often do, but to get more sensitivity, you roll to the side and stay there bar before sitting up, looking at the floor as you come up, so that you keep that mindset, that energy of the brain quiet inside. Thanks for watching and participating, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye for now.